Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode on the Little Fella Sports Podcast. And today we're going to preview the second test between India and England starting this Saturday at the MA Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. So, before we dive into the video, please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube content. We have lots of content coming up with the IPL and the India England tour that is going on in February. So, today on the show, we have Gurkirat and Anirudh and Shreyas to preview the second test. So big hi to all of you guys.
Hey,
Hello, hi.
Yeah. As we talked about the first test match in our recently posted review, it wasn't the greatest of games for India. It was a heartbreaking loss, to be honest, at the hands of an English side that totally outplayed us in all three departments. So now the second test is going to be played at the same venue where the pitch has come under scrutiny. We've had some good news from Team India's perspective today as Akshar Patel has been declared fit and will be available for the second test match. Also, some news from England that Jofra Archer has been ruled out of the second test owing to injury. Butler has gone back owing to the elongated bio bubble that he's been in. So there are going to be some changes on both sides. Maybe the pitch itself might offer something more compared to what it did in the first test. So let's analyze that. So starting off with Gurkira, um, we've the pitch came under scrutiny in the first 2 days, but then we've seen a lot of people defending the pitch again, saying that it's been a proper test match pitch that stayed true throughout the 5 days and started helping the bowlers on days 4 and 5. How do you think the pitch should be for the second test match? Do you see some changes being made?
I personally don't think that the pitch for the first test was an ideal one because it didn't have any bounce or any pace for the first 2 days. I don't think it had any pace whatsoever. I still believe that England would not have been able to take 20 wickets or 40 wickets wouldn't have fell on that pitch had India batted well enough in the first innings. Like I said in the review, I don't think any of the single wicket that fell, Indian wicket that fell on day three, that is six of them, were to wicket taking deliveries. I don't think any of them were. You could probably argue the one on which Virat got out was a wicket taking delivery, but I have seen Virat keep out better deliveries. And he showed that adjustment in the second innings when he went either fully forward or fully backward while playing down best. So, like I said, and even on the fifth day, it was not as if batting was impossible because Virat showed you could bat. Even Shubman Gill showed you could bat. As far as ball keeping low is concerned, that sort of misbehavior is going to happen on any pitch which is a day five pitch. So I don't think it was the ideal wicket. As far as the pitch for second test is concerned, I think India would like this pitch to have a little more pace and bounce. I am not necessarily saying that it should have a lot more turn. I'm saying it should have a little more of pace and bounce because, like I've repeated previously, on rank turners, the biggest weapon that India sort of high up of their spinners, it just goes away because Michael Clark, somebody like Michael Clark can turn up and take 6 for 9, or Dean Elgar could take 4 wickets. So a rank turner will not help India's chances at all. But like you just told us that Jofra Archer has been ruled out. That really helps India's chances because Mark Wood is also not available for the second test. So this means that England don't have a pacer who can take the pitch out of equation because with somebody like a Jofra or a Mark Wood, regardless of how slow the pitch is, the way they bowl and the speeds at which they bowl, they take the pitch out of the equation. They are still able to extract inconsistent or uneven bounce from the pitch because of their speeds. So that this actually helps India because now there is nobody to who can no bowler in the English lineup who can sort of rush the Indian batsman because even Stuart Broad doesn't bowl to like in high 140s. He will on a good day he will touch 140 or 143, 144, but not beyond 145. So that is a good sign for India. But India would hope that the pitch has a little more pace and bounce because if there is space on the wicket, then India would be comfortable in playing somebody like a Kuldeep Yadav because I've always personally felt that someone like a Kuldeep Yadav, because of the pace which he bowls at, needs a little bit of pace in the wicket because also let's not forget that England has been one side which has been able to play him well. because he bowls slower through the air and he's slower off the pitch, he can be easily negotiated off the pitch, which England have been successful in doing, in white ball cricket against him. So, but again, if also if there's a rank turner without a lot of pace and bounce, then it makes all the more sense for India to play an Akshar and Sundar both, because on rank turners you don't need the ball to turn that much. You just need people who can put the ball in a spot and then let the pitch do the rest. Because you don't want big turners. What big turners would eventually do is, spin the ball past the edge. What you eventually want is the ball to get the edge, which is something which happened a lot in Pune 2017, when Ashwin and Jadeja and Jayant Yadav kept spinning a lot, but they didn't get the edge. Whereas a Steve O'Keefe just put the ball in the right areas and let the pitch do its thing. So in India would be prepared for whatever comes their way. But I suspect that if the pitch is a rank turner, if they feel if it's a rank turner, especially a slow rank turner, I find it very difficult for Kuldeep Yadav to make it to the side. I think India will go in with Akshar Patel. If it's similar to how it was in the first test, where it was a little slow, surface was getting abrasive, and with the SG ball losing its shine and seam very quickly, I would not be surprised if India play the third pacer in Mohammad Siraj, because then reverse swing becomes the key, which we saw was happening in the first test. Because the ball is going to eventually, with the saliva ban, you can't even maintain the shine on the ball. So the ball is going to get older much faster. Probably earlier it used to get older around the 50th over. Now it would get older and scrubbed up by around the 35th, 40th over. And you need a third pacer to take advantage of it. Also, what helps is Siraj with his line. His conventional line is one which brings the ball into the right hander. He can bowl stump to stump, as he showed us in Australia, and he can be very disciplined and bowl with control. So if that is the case, and if India do feel that it's going to be a slow pitch, not with a lot of bounce, then I won't be surprised if Nadeem goes out and Siraj comes in. What I am assured of is Nadeem will go out. Who comes in would eventually depend upon what kind of pitch is it, because I find it very difficult that Washington Sundar is going to be dropped. Yes, he did bowl well, but I think he's a much better bowler. I think there would have been talks as to what he could have done well. Like I spoke in the review, had he come around over the wicket with a silly point and a short leg instead of a short leg and a leg slip, which Ravichandran Ashwin had, he could have been better. So it would be interesting to see who comes in. But what I'm sure of is, unfortunately, Shahbaz Nadeem will have to go.
Yeah, as you pointed out, Gurkirat, definitely, I think Nadeem is one player who will definitely vacate his spot in the 11. And as you pointed out, Washington Sundar, the bowler, had a pretty low turnout in the first Test match. But I think, given his batting contributions, and given the fact that we've had kind of two mini collapses at the top, I think playing Sundar actually gives us a bit of batting cover after Pant. So moving over to Anirudh, Gurkit spoke profusely about the impact of the SG ball and how the no saliva ban is going to affect ball maintenance. Uh, India have never really had a proper person to maintain the ball. I think Ajinkya Rahane does it. Apart from that, I haven't seen India, I know, have a designated guy to maintain the ball. So Anirudh, how do you think the pitch and this revamped SG ball are going to affect India in the second test?
I think I actually saw an image of how the SD ball seam was completely damaged by around the 55th or 60th over, and even Virat actually mentioned it even in the post-game press conference actually. So I think that's definitely played a role in terms of whether it's reverse swing or the fact that India really couldn't get any purchase off the pitch on days 1 and 2, because the pitch was slow as such and the spinners couldn't get any bite of the surface, right? So especially if there's no turn or no bounce also, I think the ball getting damage that early basically means that you have no chance from say the 50th over. And obviously, as we know, Chepauk isn't known for new ball swing either, so there's not that much you can exploit from that perspective either. So I think obviously the ball does play a role. I think Kohli and Ashwin were very key components in trying to change the ball in terms of what it was earlier, the SD ball, into what it's now. But probably you have to say that right now at the moment it's probably in its developmental stage, and it'll probably need a couple more needs a little more time in terms of trying to develop it more and probably getting into a situation where we can use it properly for all test matches. Or who knows, maybe in the future, maybe in the next couple of years, if Virat or anyone in the Indian team isn't happy with it, we may even see a switch to the Duke's ball completely, as it's used in England and Australia and many other countries across the world. So obviously in terms of the ball, India will be wary about what happened last game, and they'll keep that in mind for sure in terms of what they plan to do. But then, yeah, as you mentioned, the pitch will also play a huge role. There have been rumors that it's expected to have slightly more bounce because they expect the pitch to be a black soil pitch. The first game was played on red soil pitch, and apparently Chepauk has a couple of different soil pitches. So I think they are expecting to use the black soil pitch. So there's expected to be slightly more bite in it for the bowlers, especially in terms of extra pace and bounce. So as Gurkirat mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Siraj come in, especially if they feel it's not going to take too much turn. But if it does, then I think we'll probably see Nadeem is expected to go out. Yeah, as Gurkirat mentioned, you probably will see Akshar Patel walking in. I'm not sure whether Sundar will stay. I think it's dependent on how confident India are with their batting. Obviously, India's batting didn't perform to its best in the first innings, especially the last game. So I think depending on how confident they are with their batting, I think Sundar may play or they'll play Kuldeep instead of him. So I think that spot is a little unsure in terms of what they decide to do. But yeah, I think obviously India will obviously have to be at the very best to get any result in this Test match.
Yeah, those are very fair points, Anirudh. Yeah, as you mentioned, this SG ball is definitely a work in progress, and it's been put into the hands of the players thanks to some good agenda from the Indian players also. But now that we have this new ball, I think it's up to us to make good use out of it. And as you mentioned, if we do have a pitch where there could be some spice for the faster bowlers, then Siraj coming in with the natural angle, coming into the right-hander and taking it away from the left-hander would be really useful against this England top order. So, Shreyas, coming over to you. Uh, we've talked about the possible changes to the bowling attack per se. From say 6 to 11, we can find a couple of candidates who could be replaced. Would you tinker with the batting? And is there any room for the top six to be tinkered at this point? Yes, after the first test, if we do it, it's a bit of an overreaction. But if you had a chance to tinker with the top six, would you make a change?
No, personally, I wouldn't because people have been telling that Rahane spot is in danger, and even Gurkirat mentioned in one of his previous podcasts here. So, yeah, of course, Rahane's position is now under threat surely, but I don't think there will be any changes to our batting, especially. So, mainly, I personally think we'll go with three paces. I don't know why it's really tough to predict what Kohli decides to field on the final day. So, but I think Siraj will come in, and maybe look. I don't know if we will be in a position to play Bumrah for all the four tests. Definitely, I think we need him for the pink ball test. That's a no-brainer. But if at all they rest him, they might bring in. They might play Ishant and Siraj and three spinners. So Akshar walks in. In my opinion, I think he should play ahead of Washington Sundar. I think Akshar and Ashwin, they are a really good partnership, and those two might work well with the different angles. So those are the two spinners that I prefer. Two main spinners. So basically that's that. And England, of course, Archer has won. And one more thing I'd like to point out is that they planned everything to perfection. England in the first test, they came up with a plan, and I've seen a lot of discussion regarding the declaration and stuff, but they really executed everything well. So I didn't find anything wrong till the end of the test match. Maybe Dombes didn't bowl that well, but still, I think they've executed their plan perfectly. Of course, Indian batsmen gave in their first innings, but still, I reckon they had the home advantage playing two tests in Sri Lanka and then coming in. And Badrinath made one interesting point in Star Sports. Both Rohit and Gill, they were playing in the Australian pitches in the first innings, basically. So they were trying to drive, and they were not judging the length of the bowlers correctly, and Archer took advantage of that. I personally think that the ball Archer bowled to dismiss Gill in the first innings was, he planned it well and executed it well. That's what I'd like to say. So I don't think there was some fluke or something. Archer bowled really well, and England they'll surely miss Archer in the second test. If at all, as Anirudh says, if the pitch is changed, I think it will be a tough job for him.
Yeah, as you pointed out, definitely England have to be credited for that resounding performance because they clearly outplayed us on all 5 days. We were always against the eight ball, and I think on the fifth day, we've just had too many fifth day miracles in our lives in the last couple of months, and that's actually made us a little delusional about fifth day Test cricket in general. So coming over to you, Gurkirat, we've discussed about the pitch and the impact of the new SG ball and possible changes to the 11s. In this second Test match, if we are to take into account the players who are going to be missing out and the nature of the pitch, who would you pick as your X factors from England and India?
X factors again. Is it difficult to pick? I'll get back to it. I just want to add something to what Shreya said, like how
Yeah, please.
Prithviraj pointed out that maybe both the openers felt that they were playing in Australia. It is possible because if you analyze Gill's first innings dismissal, uh, the ball actually stopped a little bit. So he
Yeah,
probably it gave the impression that it stopped a little bit, but it could also be a part where Gill played a little early. Okay, that is something that you not always can decipher because sometimes you just get the impression that the ball stopped, but at Archer's pace, it's unlikely that the ball is going to stop. So it is also possible that Gill played early. Another thing which Anirudh said, and that that makes sense, is that probably with the pitch being made of black soil, it is going to have a little more bounce. The pitch having a little more bounce, it will actually help India in ensuring that England batsmen play the sweep a lot lesser. When the pitch
And
is going
spinners
to
will
have
come
a
into
lot,
play generally,
yeah,
especially
when
Ashwin.
exactly. So when the pitch is going to have a little more bounce, or inconsistent bounce, or when that the ball can rise from slightly fuller length, the batsmen have to be a lot more careful of playing the sweep. Sweep becomes a difficult shot to execute, not when there's a lot more spin, but when there's a lot more bounce. So that would actually help Indian bowlers a lot in ensuring that, especially the spinners, that there isn't that much sweep. Also, what the bounce will ensure is, and that we hardly saw that in the first test, both Ishant and Bumrah didn't even try to bounce the batsman because they figured out that the pitch has no pace. That if they bowl the bouncer, it might become a hit me ball. So if it has some bounce, then they can also bring in their bouncer into the picture. So that would actually help the Indian bowling attack in a very well-rounded way. Coming to the X factors, again, I mean, India's coming off a loss. Virat's played a good innings, and he's due for a big one for a very, very long time. So I'd say India's X factor is Virat Kohli. Also, there are needless questions being raised of his captaincy, if you ask me. So when he is pushed into a corner, he's the sort of player. Both him and Bumrah, and I'd say even Ashwin, they are the sort of players. When you push them into the corner, they come up with their best. So I have no doubts that Virat could be India's X factor in the coming test. And as far as England's concerned, X factor could be again, like we've seen what Stokes, we saw what Stokes did with the bat, but he's yet to sort of do something with the ball. And if the pitch has bounce, I'm sure he would be handy with the ball as well. So again, I'll go for my Stokes as the X factor, which I said before the series also. So that would be it. Another thing which I think Anirudh raised, and which was a very good point, that he doesn't, or maybe it was Shreyas, I'm not sure. Someone mentioned that it would be difficult for India to play Bumrah in all four tests. I completely agree with that, but I still see, because India is 1-0 down, there is no Shami, there is no Umesh, there is no Jadeja. India would definitely play Bumrah in the next test. Come the third test, depending upon what the scoreline is and who all is available. If Shami and Umesh are available, I wouldn't be surprised if India actually rests Bumrah in the fourth test, if not the third test, because Shami and Umesh in India, have shown that they're good enough. In fact, forget being good enough; they are pretty lethal. So
yeah,
if both of them are available, because we've heard that Jadeja may not be available. If both of them are available, then India actually might rest Bumrah for the fourth test, if not the third test. But he's going to play the second one for sure, because you're 1-0 behind too. So that is my take on it, on the whole thing.
Yeah, as you pointed out, definitely if Shami and Umesh both are available, then it only makes sense to play them both in the Ahmedabad Test match and give Bumrah a well-deserved break, because he's been bowling non-stop from the Australian tour, and we definitely need to do something about his workload. And yeah, as you said, the chief exponent of reverse swing in England, from what I have seen of England cricket, is actually Ben Stokes. I was actually surprised that Ben Stokes, with that angle, I've seen it. I've seen him do it on red soil pitches. He's generally been able to generate reverse swing. He just had a, it just didn't get a an extended spell to bowl. So I think now if the pitch is going to be a black soil base, which is going to offer more pace and bounce, I think Ben Stokes will probably be more frequently used in this test match.
Also, when
Uh,
he's on song, when he's on song with the ball, he actually crosses the 140 mark quite a few times. 3 or 4 times in the over, he does cross the 140 mark. So hence, I still feel that with the pitch, he could actually be an X factor.
yeah, definitely. Ben Stokes is one of those rhythm bowlers. So if he's in the rhythm and if he's in the mood, he can produce one of those run through spells like he's always done. So moving over to you, Anirudh, who would you pick as your X Factor players from India and England?
When it comes to India, I'd have to pick Ashwin. I know he picked 9 wickets in the last game, but if India are to win this test match, Ashwin has to again pull out one outstanding performance, because it's pretty clear that in the absence of Jadeja, the other spinners, even if Akshar Patel does walk in or even Kuldeep Yadav does play in this game, I don't expect them to be as effective as Jadeja potentially would have been. So I think Ashwin definitely has a huge role to play. So I think Ashwin is obviously the main player for India in hopefully picking up 20 wickets and picking them at a much faster rate than we did in the previous game. When it comes to England, I completely agree with Stokes, because Stokes has the ability to bowl that heavy ball. So obviously Stokes is going to play a big factor if the pitches suit him. But apart from Stokes, I'd actually say Stuart Broad could definitely be effective, because I think he'll play ahead of Anderson instead of Anderson, because they'll probably do the rotation policy. I think Broad's got a very underrated leg cutter, and if the pitch, especially on days 3 or 4, if it starts turning a little bit, I think he could use that and he'll be very effective, because our batting lineup is right-handed dominator. Apart from Rishabh, I don't think anyone's left-handed. Obviously, we've got Sundar, maybe Akshay there, but the top order is definitely fully of right-hand bats. So I think Stuart Broad could definitely be a huge factor for England. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as you said, Stuart Broad coming into the side. If it's a fast, pacey pitch, then with his height, with his hit the deck nature of bowling, he'll definitely be a handful. So moving over to Shreyas, who would you pick as your X Factor players from India and England?
Yeah, I have to say Kohli again because he looked so good in the second innings. It was really an unfortunate ball which he got out to. First innings he didn't look that well. He didn't look that comfortable, but I think he has gained his form and he will show what he's made of in the coming three tests. So of course, Kohli will be my X factor player. And for England, again, look, he was about to tell Archer if he was available, but still, uh, I'd again go for Stokes maybe. I don't think they really have Broad. Yeah, of course, if he replaces Anderson, he might prove his worth. But still, I think Stokes will play a huge part this series. I mean, this match, especially if Axar comes in, he'll be able to tackle him very well. Is what I think.
Yeah. So with that, it's down to predictions then. So Gurkirat, we've weighed in what's happened in the first test. We've weighed in what might happen in the second test. What is your off the charts prediction for this test match?
You have to back India regardless of what happened in the first test. I think India's game plan should be, regardless of if they win the toss or not, they should just look to bat once. And it's not something that they haven't done before. They've done it on slow turners, they've done it on bouncy pitches, they have done it on sporting wickets. They should just look to bat once. I know the SG ball is going to be an issue, and if they it was an issue even in the 2019 series against South Africa when both Ashwin and Virat had spoken about it because I remember in Pune they'd gotten a few quick wickets, but then they couldn't break the partnership between Dean Elgar and Quinton de Kock because nothing was happening until they took the new ball. So that will be an issue, but this team is still very strong enough to come overcome all of those things, regardless of if of the fact they win the toss or they don't win the toss. They should look to bat once, and they should look to put pressure on England. And again, everything else, that one change, whichever change it happens, it will come down to how the team management reads the pitch, because like I said before in one of some other previews, that on a slow turner, it is also very important for the spinners to have control. And traditionally and conventionally, wrist spinners have lesser control than finger spinners. So there is no guarantee as to if Kuldeep would have done a lot better than what a Nadeem or a Sundar did, even in terms of control. So that is the prediction would be for India to win. Even more so now that Jofra has been ruled out. That is a huge factor, and remains to be seen how England come up with it. I also feel that if the pitch has bounce and India play the third pacer, they'd be well suited to counter Root as well, because if you look back how Root gets dismissed, he has a tendency to get out LBW while playing the flick, and he's been dismissed that way by Bumrah in England, by Ishant in England, by Shami in India. So again, that can happen. And Ishant had the same plan in the first innings. It's just that he also induced an edge when he took the ball away. It's just that the ball was short of it. So you'd have to back India. It's just that it would be good even for the fans if India win the toss and you put on a big score, because uh, these 5 test matches that India has played, they've also been very draining as fans, because there has been so much that has happened. In terms of the results, in terms of the injuries, in terms of backups, in terms of controversies. The racism issue, the COVID breach issue, the Gabba win, then the Chepauk loss. So many things that have happened. The captaincy debate, and I would for one would like a boring test match where India just bat big first and then put the opposition in under pressure and then have a huge win. I genuinely want that, and I hope that happens. I hope that happens, and yeah, hoping for a big score from Virat, hoping that Ajinkya Rahane, does more than what he's doing right now. He's consistently flattering to deceive. If you look at the scores from all batsmen since, including Adelaide, in 10 innings he has only 150 plus score. Washington Sundar has two, Virat Kohli has two, Pant and Gill have three, Pujara has four. So that is also a concern in some ways. So hopefully the Indian batting comes along well, and we have a positive result, and because that will also calm down all the fans. A draw will not help us in any way, because then it would put us under even more pressure. And with the pink ball, you never know what might happen. Because England probably have the best bowler for those conditions with the pink ball. James Anderson could actually, you never know what he might do with it. So hopefully, and I'm confident that India should come out on top in the second test.
Yeah, as you said, definitely this test is very important from the series point of view. We have a pink ball test coming up, and the fourth test match is also going to be played at Motera, of which we have very less statistical data available to show how the pitch would play there. So it's very important that we go into the day-night test 1-1. So even this is a test match happening at Chepauk, so we also have the Little Fella Sports team going to the first 2 days of the test match. Luckily, these both at the top, Anirudh and Shreyas, have been
We'll
lucky
see.
enough
We'll see
to
if
get tickets for that. Yeah,
I,
we'll
I
be
hope you
able
I
to
hope you
get the ticket first. Yeah.
I hope you guys get to witness India batting and putting on a huge score.
I hope we win the
I really
toss.
want to see Down
Kohli
Sibley
will set
bat
the
for
greatest record.
2 hours. Please.
yeah. Just as Gurkirat pointed out, I think our Little Fellas sports team would probably love a boring test match where India bat first, so that they can see India's batting all throughout the first day. So coming over to you, Anirudh, what are your thoughts for this test match? Who do you think is going to win it, or are we going to get a draw?
I mean, with one thing about this Indian team is under Virat Kohli for the past say 4 or 5 years is we definitely fight under pressure when the situation's against us and we're basically backs in the wall situation. I think this Indian team definitely fight. We've shown it a number of times. So I think this is such a situation because we're pretty much in must-win scenario in terms of the World Test Championship, apart from the series, of course. So I think this Indian team knows that they have to perform, they have to get back and fight. And I mean, as we saw in Australia, really compete again. So I think. I think they'll be desperate to do well. I think we will do well. So I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be all right. I think the first game was an aberration, combination of different factors, and I hope that the Indian team are wary of those different factors and take into account all those things which happened. And hopefully, I think I'm pretty confident that we can come back and level the series 1-1 at the end of this test match.
Yeah. Shreyas, your predictions for this game?
Yeah, India will win 1-1.
That's
That's it.
short and sweet. Yeah, so the Little Fella sports team will be there at the Chapok for the first 2 days of the test match. On the first day, you can come and say hi to these two blokes in K Upper. That's where they're there. So, yeah, thanks again. Thanks a lot to Gurkirat, Anirudh, and Shreyas for taking time out being a part of the podcast today. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube content. Thank you, and bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.